What I remember very little about my heroin overdose. I remember awakening with the empty needle still down in my arm. I remember the sound of plaster cracking and being unsure whether it was the walls or my mind that was cracking. I remember pressing a utility blade to my wrist and pacing the room, reciting Nietzsche like a mantra so that I wouldn't die. I remember the concrete floor splitting and shadowy shapes emerging, descending into darkness below. I remember a tiny shape awakened in the center of my mind that offered to take possession of my pain. I remember running from my small basement room and confessing my broken heart to the strange creatures that live in the purple flowers. I remember staring at an oil stain on the driveway and wishing that I were that perfect. I remember all of these things. Most of all, I remember the shakes, the cold sweats, the hunger, filling the syringe with heroin later that night, shooting it into the hungry vein.
So, this is, so right now, I don't care where I am physically, here or in New York, in my original house or in dorm's room in the Herb. God saves us. It is an amazing concept. I lived the last year of the rock and roll generation, sex, drugs, alcohol, involved in business and art, parties, promotion, drinking, cocaine lines, money, Vienna, Roma, Athena, Istanbul, Venice, Moscow. It takes 1 to 2 hours flying as from Edmonton to Vancouver. Until 1919, everything was under control. I was living a double life, one for public, a good, successful man in the family, in the art and business, and a secondary, diligent life. I was smuggling cocaine, hashish, and gold jewelry from Istanbul to Belgrade, and of course, using alcohol and coke more and more. I traveled a minimum of 2 times per month, one to Istanbul, one to Roma, to supply my fashion business and smuggling coke and hash. I was 31 years old, I built my family, I had 2 fashion stores, and I was continually writing. In interval 1987, I had been in the army, 50 months mandatory for every man in the country. But because I finished university, it was 12 months, and I had 2 children, 1 month less for every child, altogether 10 months. 1991 began the war in ex-Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia decided disintegration. The body of Yugoslavia was torn. After this war started, I realized that anything is possible. At the beginning, I didn't know what was happening. I stayed 2 months in the basement. I sent my close family to Germany and I stayed in the war. Oh man. I took all the Jack Daniels from the city. I took cocaine, pills, hashish made in Turkey, grass, everything. I could forget for a moment what was happening around me. Everyone wanted to fight. People were going to fight with knives. There were few guys, few pistols, few bullets. One time on the line, I was given only 3 bullets. When soldiers returned from the front, everyone wanted to know what it was like. You have just took cigarette and said, yes, I killed 3 of them. Oh man. I remember it was 4 a.m. I was drinking coffee when the shelling started. 300 people were killed in 1 hour. I know something about first aid. The first guy I saw had lost his foot. Someone else had his scalp peeled back. His brain was showing. I replaced the scalp, bandaged him. Oh man, you see a big pile of human meat. No arms, no legs. 1991 to 1995, in the war, Yugoslavia died, and me too. I was destroyed like my country. I went crazy.
As I've been saying all night, Mr. Edin Viso, man. Shotgun. All right. Thelma and I would play bingo every Sunday. She'd always crack the same jokes. The caller would yell, "B4!" and Thelma would scream, "Before what?" Or when he'd yell G52, she'd slam her hands on the table and scream, "Did he say B52? Quick, everyone into the bomb shelter!" And everyone would break into laughter. The last time we played bingo together, when B9 wasn't followed with her usual, "Congratulations, it's not cancer," I knew the results of her biopsy without asking. In a matter of months, Thelma was gone.
Water and wine. Water and wine. At the beginning, wine is both water and the sun. Without water, there is no life. With wine, there is even more than needed. A barrel of wine is a magnificent present to all except for Diogenes. Water is like love. If it doesn't flow, it turns into a swamp. Wine is like life. Only when it flows does it become turbulent. Water is the precursor to every life. Wine is the precursor to many illusions. The man of his size to be drowned in a glass of wine. Just thinking of wine makes my mouth water. For living the two-faced spend the greatest amount of water. Unless he gets some water to drink, Sisyphus won't be able to roll the rock. If he gets wine to drink, Sisyphus will carry the rock. Water is the mother of all wines and their stepmother. Too strong a wine has killed me. Speaking of wine, we are all one nation with the same hallucination. Wine is always mysteriously silent, but when it comes to women, the only one is Mona Lisa.
All right, how do you guys feel? We're going to do one more? Call it a night?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah? I hear Joan Jett somewhere singing down the block. All right, let's do one more. You know what? I'm going to go back to my first book here. I'm going to read this. All right. You know what, man? We have to wake up. This is now. This is the arts. This is the community. Ground fucking zero. This is where it's at. And you know what? Crudely mistaken for life. Morbid curiosity presses me to slip into the back room of the funeral home where bodies lie dreaming on shiny metal tables. Humans spend 1/3 of their living in preparation for a morgue drawer. Beds are staging grounds for graves. Slumber is dress rehearsal for death. The mortician asks me if I've ever seen a corpse prepared for burial. Shows me a decapitation victim, then plunges the head onto a metal spike. The eyes are stapled shut, not stitched, she says, while fastening one unseeing eye onto a metal hinge. She proceeds to sew the mouth shut, explaining that prevents the toxic fumes from poisoning others. Yeah, I say, I've seen corpses prepared for burial. The streets are full of sleepwalkers, with eyes stapled shut, lips sewn shut to the magic and mystery of blood and bone living, drained, emptied, with no sign of a pulse. The stench of death seeping from their mouths, sleepwalking from cradle to grave, with only brief dreams in between, crudely mistaken for life.
My poems. I always think when everything else is gone, I can write some poems still. When my friends are gone, finally knowing me, and my woman left me, having had enough of me, When I am alone in a rented room with empty days and nights longer than I can stand, I will have one thing left. Out of it all, I will write my poems, is what I think, and if they ever go, that is the end.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Viso. You know what? I know we have one more.
We have two more.
Two more?
Yeah.
Sounds like a Jack Michelin concert that went awry.
Yeah.
Not you guys.
Okay.
I know.
No, I know who has. Toby has. This cover girl, and this is Love of My Life. This is Toby. And this this book is dedicated to Toby. So I like the Toby coming to read her famous poem. Come on, please.
Oh, yeah. What is it? 47 days on the psycho ward?
Yeah.
47 days on the psycho ward.
Yeah.
That's right. You load 16 tons, what do you get? 14 fucking days on the psycho ward.
I think I've been actually about 300 days on the psycho ward. And that's the truth, because I actually am a security officer in a psychiatric